Hello and welcome to Arya. This video is the first video from our 3-pillar self-development model series. In this series, I do my makeup while I also talk about this 3-pillar strategy which helps us in a very implementation focused way get through life and get through growth. The first pillar of this is mental mindsets. The second pillar is about long-term foundational concepts, and the third one is about all the current knowledge and skills that you need. This specific video is going to talk about the mindset portion. You can focus only on the makeup piece, only the information piece if that's what you're interested in, or you can listen to both and find the analogies that I give between makeup and life. We are going to shapeshift what we have into an exaggerated person. That exaggerated version of us is going to be in alignment with what we want to be. The process of doing that can be quite messy, and that you can see reflected in this makeup look as well. What happens when you exaggerate your mascara or efforts is that it spreads around in places that you don't want it to be, and in the mascara case it's clearly visible. In order to sort of try to give it as much length as possible, I'm getting it all over. When it comes to exercises and self-love, sometimes you don't know when to hold back, and the first few attempts can be quite messy. You may end up looking obnoxious to your friends. Sometimes it can be messy because people see you try and fail. For every 2 steps of growth, there's all this failed experiment stuff that you've done, and it can be in anything. It can be in doing math sums as practice, where you're just doing 5 wrong questions and then finally getting the right answers. It could be playing a sport where you're just terrible at it and people think that you're a loser and they don't even want you on their team, and but then you need to practice to get there, right? It can be in job interviews. You're giving 100 job interviews, and putting yourself out there and learning can create a mess, because when you try to do something, it's like a pendulum. It's like even in acting, like you may try to express emotions, but then you may end up projecting it everywhere, throwing it everywhere, and that restraint, that control over that performance is something that doesn't easily come right away. But stepping into that itself is more important. My mascara techniques represent that. I would rather sacrifice making a bit of a mess than leaving any of my lashes shorter in length, and I think the same philosophy applies to my work. I would rather just go all out and experiment and then temper down what needs to be tempered down than just not even step up and make the mistakes and not even put the effort. So getting comfortable with makeup is also something we can talk about. It's another analogy that I like to make with makeup. In a way, wearing makeup can feel a little inauthentic, right? You're used to seeing yourself a certain way, and then you put makeup on and you're like, okay, this is not me, this is a different person. And the first few times that you do it, you're almost shy presenting yourself out there, especially to your friends. Like, I used to love wearing lipsticks, but then when I was in college, I used to apply lipsticks as therapy. Inside, like when I would be stressed during my exams, I would just like take a break and just apply some lipstick and stuff, and then I would never step out wearing it. Like, I would wipe it off and then go out, because I felt like people are just not used to seeing me this way, and getting comfortable letting people see you in a way that they are not used to seeing you is another part of that mindset journey. The efforts that you put in being a better version of yourself can be sometimes very, like, the outcomes or the effects of it can be very visible to the people who've known you for years, especially if we've got friends that have seen you since childhood. So say if you were a shy, submissive personality type, and then suddenly you're being a little more outspoken, they'd be like, what the hell, like, what's wrong? And sometimes being around those people can box you up, and the problem is not in the people. The problem is that you are sensing that discomfort and shyness and fear of judgment. Like, again, going back to makeup, what could go wrong if I applied lipstick and went to college? Makeup would just draw attention, and that would not be something that I was okay with, because I was afraid of the consequences. It should not come in the way of you dimming your light, and dimming your light in the sense of not being who you are is one way, but then you can also be dimming your light in the sense of not being what you want to be. It's possible that you're scared to grow because you're scared that people will see you in a way that they're not used to seeing you, and that's going to make you uncomfortable. And getting comfortable with that is another part of that mindset. Just being brave to show the world a version of you that they've not seen before without fear of judgment. And that's again a parallel that I like to draw with makeup. Again, you don't need to do makeup, but my makeup journey started with me hiding my lipsticks from the world. My dad used to not like lipsticks. Like, he used to be like, he's that slightly more, you should be more intellectually oriented and you should not stare into the mirror too much kind of a guy. Like, even when I made this channel, the first video was about the makeup stuff, and he was like, just if you want to put your voice out there, the content needs to be stronger. Like, this is not you. And I think it's not completely okay for him to be like that, so we always push back on him. But he's always sort of raised me to believe that makeup is not something that's a part of my personality, and I'm like bigger than that or better than that or something like that, which is something that I completely undid when I entered the world of pageantry, because I kind of found makeup not only liberating as a form of artistic expression. I always enjoyed painting, so for me to have my face as a canvas, it's something artistic and fun for me, but it's also a sense of freedom. The moment I got past that friction of looking different than my non-makeup self, like almost like I've shape shifted, the moment I got comfortable showing the world that side of me, I also became comfortable showing them a more personality version that has shape shifted as well. Not in a, obviously not in a cunning, mean sort of a way, but more in a, I can stand taller and I can really speak my mind, and I can sometimes even snap back with wit to a bully, which I used to not be able to do as a kid, and like doing things that would be seen as out of character. For me, makeup sort of handheld me through that journey. Obviously, some of the confidence that you gain with makeup also allows you to shapeshift a little. In addition to that, there are also mental exercises that you can do. The way you have tools and techniques for makeup to shapeshift, you also have tools and techniques for your mindset to shapeshift. And a lot of it starts with intention setting, but a precursor to that is to also have good self-talk. Say if your friend said that I want to do something, I want to be something, and you see that the friend is not living up to that potential or believing in themselves enough, and they are like maybe underconfident or they think that they're a loser, don't you go and help them out? Like, don't you talk to them and you're like, I believe in you, no, you got this. And this is the kind of conversation that I think we don't have with ourselves as much. Like, just watch how you speak to yourself. Do not allow yourself to speak shit to yourself, just the same way as you wouldn't allow someone to speak shit about your sister or your parent or your friend. Don't let yourself demean yourself, just lift yourself up, and hopefully most of you over here would not be facing that issue. For a lot of people, they don't even realize that they're doing that. They project it onto other people and they don't even realize that they need help. So if you do feel like you get jealous of a certain friend's success, or if, say, scrolling through social media makes you feel angry, or like they're just unresolved emotions, sometimes a lot of them can be related to our own feelings of lack, and sometimes those feelings of lack are actually rooted in lack of self-love. And a lot of your self-talk has to be around that. It has to be around not comparing yourself. It has to be around, am I better than yesterday? I am proud of myself compared to yesterday, and I forgive myself for certain things that I was not able to do, because I am enough the way I am. It's not a conversation that you can have with yourself once and you're done. The more frequently you can have these conversations, the better, because it's an ongoing exercise. As you grow in life, like the things will keep changing around. It's not like something that you've just mastered once. Like it has to become almost like an internalized mindset system, and for that it'll require a lot of repetition and a lot of time spent talking to yourself and watching your thoughts and making sure that you're not self-sabotaging. This was the first step. The second step was about shifting your locus of control inwards. Locus of control is a business term. I first got exposed to it more than 10 years ago, 12 years ago maybe, in undergrad. And what it talks about is that there are two kinds of people. Some that attribute their success and failures to factors outside of their control, and others who attribute their success and failures to themselves. Usually, people who can attribute their locus of control towards themselves are people who make up for a growth mindset. And why it works like that is that we've all been dealt a hand that we have to make the most out of. And it's unfortunate that not everybody has the same starting point. It's not just about resources. I'm talking about resources such as raw IQ. Like, for a long time, when my mom used to really believe in she used to think that I was a very high IQ genius kind of kid. Like, every mom thinks that about their children. And every time in school, she used to ask me, why did you not score better? And I'd be like, Mom, those are the topper kind of kids who, get that result. It was really frustrating for her because I just decided to attribute my inability to score a good grade onto some sort of an external skill set that I just didn't have. And it was my escape in a way. And things like, these people are just smarter than me, or these people are just prettier than me, these people are richer than me, these are very valid constraints, but unfortunately we have to make the most of the hand we've been dealt. Mind you, this locus of control, it doesn't work on everyone. It usually works beyond a certain income group. Some circumstances are very hard to come out of, so I'm not saying that this applies to everyone, but for a lot of people there is some baseline network, some baseline support that they have relative to someone else, and you have to find what you can do to maximize your outcomes from the hand that you've been dealt and the resources that you have. And sure, you can use your voice to try to change the system as much as you can, and I really hope that you're able to do that. But the easiest way to change the system is to make the most of your opportunities and get to a point of success where you can actually now make a difference. Until you can do that, what you do is focus on your own strengths and work on your own weaknesses, and be like, yeah, I owe it to the future generation to make the system better, and I'm going to work hard to get there so that I can make the system better. But I will not keep going back and surrendering to a life of complaining. You fight, you raise your voice, you do what you can to make the world a better place through your advocacy. But it shall not substitute your efforts and the amount of hard work that you are doing in order to maximize the hand that you have been dealt. The world will, if it does change, it will change slowly. Like, all that complaining without work is just your loss. You work and you complain, and that's completely fine. But your success is in your hands within the constraints of the hand that you've been dealt. And you cannot change the hand that you've been dealt. So you better make the most of the success that you can with your hard work. So that is about an internal locus of control. And the third one is exaggeration exercises. It's something that I have been doing for years and I still struggle to do. When I was in school, I had such terrible stage fright. There have been several moments in my life where, like, a teacher would have made me stand up and be like, oh, okay, answer this question, and I would know the answer, but I was just so nervous standing in front of a class of 54 students, and I would just go mum. I don't know, it was just something I couldn't control. Like, my voice would just stop. And that's how stage shy I was growing up. Around the time that I entered college, I was like, you know what, I've had enough of it. Like, I used to write debates and give it out to my more outspoken friends to deliver them, and they used to win with my debates. Like, when I say write debates, like, I used to write all the points and research and this and that, and I'd be like, but what's stopping me from doing this? And it was frustrating, and I decided that I'm going to college. It's sort of linked to the first part as well, because in college I did not know anyone from school, so I could just embody the skin of whoever I wanted to be, and that was super convenient, because I decided that worst case scenario, at the end of these 3 years, if I make a fool of myself, I'll never see these people again. Like, this is literally the worst that can happen. So I started venturing out and attempting every little activity that the childhood version of me would be super scared to do. and one of them involved auditioning for the college deb sock, which I really bombed. Okay, I was really bad at it because I was just so nervous that I didn't have any charm on stage. I did this again. I did street theater auditions, and street theater auditions were better. I applied in the second year. So the first year was when I was doing all these experiments, and by the second year I was kind of better, I guess, and I was able to crack that audition, and I became a part of my college's street theater. I just kept showing up to these things, and one of the things that I decided to show up for was Miss India. And I just remember again telling myself that, dude, like, I am scared of being judged by a bunch of people. I'm gonna go there and I'm just gonna get judged. And what is the worst that can happen? I'm not employed by them. I have a job, and my co-workers will never get to see me making a fool of myself like that. Like, it's just an audition. Go ahead, do it. And before I knew it, I got shortlisted for the Miss Delhi round, and then I was the runner-up for Miss Delhi. But I was like, okay, well, this experiment sort of worked out. Let's just try Miss India as well. So I ended up going for Miss India, and I'm exercising that version of myself which was scared of being in front of the stage and in front of people and being judged. And suddenly I was on national TV, and the next thing I know, there are all these reporters that are interviewing me. And then there were so many auditions. Like, there's so many of these exercises that I did were essentially a part of me exaggerating my persona, putting myself out there, just being okay being judged, and that really got me far. I am not that same stage shy girl whose legs would shiver every time a teacher would ask a question in front of a class. Like, it's shocking. Like, the childhood version of me would be so proud of myself, and it's a story that a lot of people would relate to, honestly. Like, you would be surprised to see how many people have had the same experience as I did. And if this is so common, it means that it's quite possible for you to also tap into that energy. And I'm not saying that maybe you have different issues, like you're probably not stage shy at all, and you're probably quite comfortable in front of the camera or in front of your friends, and maybe you're trying to nail job interviews. Maybe you end up being a little too sassy. You sometimes end up becoming too mean in your conversations, and maybe that's something that you're trying to correct. Exaggeration exercises are literally like, one of the Miss India coaches once made me do this thing. He had given me a script of some really outrageous stuff, and it's like, who am I? Imagine Ranveer Singh. Like, imagine the Ranveer Singh persona, and just live that persona for like 5 minutes a day. And what it'll do is it'll just break your body a little. Like, it'll get rid of some of that stiffness, some of that discomfort. Dip into that persona every now and then, that for a short duration, and then that ends. So there's clowning exercises that you can Google. You can figure out whether they're useful for you. There are exercises like the mirror exercise that I said, where you look into the mirror and you're like, I'm proud of you for this and this. There are exercises where you actually just record yourself talking as if you're talking to a group of people. Maybe pretend to be a YouTuber and talk to the camera, or maybe put on some fake lashes and show up. Just get comfortable being a version of you that people have not seen before. So yeah, that's pretty much the look. Now, you don't need to do this makeup look. I just showed you what my shape-shifted version is. The first time I did my makeup like this, it took me a moment to just let myself go out of my house and be seen. And the first time I stepped into the mindset of the girl I wanted to be, I felt shy, and I felt like I don't know how my friends are gonna see this version of me. When I did Miss India, by the way, when I did Miss Delhi, my friends did not know that I had applied. They got to know when they saw a photo on Facebook. I was just so nervous. I was so awkward about, because it was so out of character for me to do something like that. Like, I thought they'll make fun of me. And now when I look back, I'm so glad that I did that. What really worked for me was to talk to myself and say, hey, what is the worst that can happen? Then I was like, okay, but there's such pretty girls, I'll never win. And then shifting my locus of control inwards and being like, okay, this is the hand that I've been dealt, and these are the things that I'm good at, and I'm gonna focus on those and work on those and just have fun along the process and let the world take care of me. And in this case, I won, but then there are other moments where I did not win. But I'm not angry at the world for denying me certain opportunities versus others, because it all levels out at the end of the day, at the end of life, especially if you've been a good person. Shift your locus of control inwards and focus on what is in your your hands to make your life better. Do exaggerated body movements for like 5 minutes a day. Be loud for 5 minutes a day. Be expressive. Be free for 5 minutes a day. There are some other exercises that are linked to that. Some of them are related to yoga and meditation. Some of them are even as simple as going to the gym for that matter. But that's going to be a separate video. There'll have to be a specific time and place for that when I do talk about it. Meanwhile, just focus on these exercises. Say yes, like learn to say yes to all the opportunities that come your way. Like embarrass yourself, get rejected, get as rejected as you can. You have no idea how many times I've applied to job opportunities just to get rejected, because then you get feedback and you understand where you stand. Just show up for things and get rejected. Like show up for auditions, show up for a movie audition. It might not be a part of your career plan. Like just show up. What is the worst that can happen? They'll make fun of you and they'll kick you out. Just do these exercises, make them a part of your routine and start showing up. That's it.